Bianchini issued this series of plays, some accompanying text, Demonstraria Historiae Ecclesiasticae, or Demonstration of Ecclesiastical History, in 4 parts, from 1752 to 1754. It illustrates artifacts in front of the facade. It parallels those objects that represent imperial Rome, such as the bus on the, the bus, with early Christian works of art. And I probably can, the plate works this way. Works are arranged chronologically, again, from, as well as vertically. They make sense in terms of comparison. Let me show you just a slice. Here is obviously a portrait of Augustus, the Augustan Mausoleum above. And I like this because this suggests that Augustus's firm foundation within the city, an expression of Augustan power, and then here the birth of Christ. And so you can see how this works. This is Nero, and again, Castro, Pretorio, rooting Nero's architectural works to the ground, and then up here, the death of Christ. So this is how this print works. The importance of the project is that the weight of history, which is divinely ordered to Bianchini, the papacy inherited the traditions of imperial and Christian Rome, and therefore, by association, it deserved the privileges and powers it was asked of the world. That is, it was asking of the foreign dignitaries and wasn't getting. Now, Vasi did not work on this project. It went to Bianchini, we know from letters actually found in the fictional archives. He micromanaged his illustrations. He knew how to draw, and he had certain theories about the effectiveness of illustrations. And he went with basically a gentleman, a printmaker called Barbazza, who I get the sense of, we don't hear much else about him, but he was a technician. However, Vasi worked for Bianchini for, in a similar, even precursor project, the commemorative print for the Jubilee year of 1750 under Benedict XIV's watch. The facade is an ephemeral dressing up of St. Peter's. It includes medallions of the 13 popes who, again, chronologically arranged, who held Jubilees. They were accompanied by all kinds of coins and architectural medallions representing artifacts from these popes, and then across the top, the rebuilding of St. Peter. Now, you are probably aware that Giuseppe Bianchini wrote the texts of the first volume of Vasi's Magnificenza on the walls and gates in 1747, the first volume. And it was hoped that Bianchini would write the text for subsequent volumes, but he didn't. And it was said that, and it is said that Orazio Orlandi wrote, with Vasi, wrote the remaining text. Now, if you read the text, there's a slight difference between volume 1 and the subsequent volume. The first is much more erudite, if I can use that word. There are explanations of word etymologies, historical explanations, a lot of tangents. But by the third volume, you get much more descriptive, more practical information about the sites. I'll take that back, not much more, I would say slightly more descriptive, practical. And let me add that this is a pattern that you see in Bottati's Musei Capitolini as well. The first volume is highly erudite. Again, includes all kinds of speculative, superficial information. By volume 2, actually Bottati begins by writing that he's been criticized for this kind of writing, and that he aspires to do more scientific description, presenting information that is just proven. And what I'm trying to do is set up a parallel here. Well, I'm trying to do two things. One, I'm wondering about the influence of the Arcadians' plea for simplicity in language in these two cases, in these two publication projects. And then I'm also trying to establish a parallel between Bottati's, from the Musei Capitolini, and Bianchini's. This is from the Demonstratio Historia Ecclesiastica, between those two projects, and then, of course, between Bianchini's and Vasi's project. Now, recent literature suggests that Bianchini might have been in on the planting. Oh, I'm sorry, one more idea. Bianchini, as we know, backed out of the Vasi project, and that has opened up some speculation about the relationship of these two men, whether there was a falling out of some kind. But letters between the two men don't support this. A more practical explanation, actually, a biography of Bianchini suggests that he was a workaholic and he just made himself sick by working on too many projects at one time. But rather, recent literature suggests that Bianchini might have actually been in on the planning of the Magnificenza and then was allowed to let it go. He might have pushed Vasi into this ambitious project. And again, if you think of the typological format of this work, first the walls and gates, then the piazze, the palazzi, the ponti, the secular infrastructure of Rome, and then the sacred infrastructure, you know, the basilicae, the parish churches, the convents, etc. This might reflect something of the organization of Bottari and Bianchini. I'm sure more work can be done to flesh that out. One last and quick idea. The Magnificenza volumes aim to flatter both the papal court and the Neapolitan court, Vasi's two allegiances, much as the Arcadian operations aim to do the same. For example, the King and Queen of Naples were acclaimed members of Arcadia in 1748, when a major meeting in the Bosco Palazzo took place, held in their honor. A volume of poems was published in their honor. Vasi then dedicates Volume 1 and Volume 2 to the King and the Queen, bracketing that year, 1748. In Volume 1, this is where we see Vasi's insertion of the poem, actually very close to this image, which shows Romulus, obviously pointing to the new settlement of Rome, variously described as the walls of the new Rome. King Romulus, well, not king, but Romulus and the walls of New Rome. But in fact, as I hope someone has pointed out before me, that Rome here takes on the form of the new project in Naples, the Castello Nuovo. So kind of parallel here between Romulus and Charles Borbone and etc. Three more of the volumes of Magnificenza are dedicated to other members of the Neapolitan court to whom Vasi owed much, not to mention housing and stipend in the Palazzo Farnese. However, the volumes on ancient Christian buildings, the basilicae, the convents, those are dedicated to the papal court, Pope Benedict XIV, and to the newly elected cardinals, Colonna. Cardinal Colonna was chosen as cardinal in 1743, Delle Lanze in 1747, the Cardinal Duke of York in 1747, and two of these later become acclaimed in Arcadia, and then Vasi dedicates one of his volumes in Magnificenza to them, as well as to his old friend, Cardinal Neri Corsini. So in conclusion then, Vasi's career and reputation was not just enhanced by the connection made in the Accademia degli Arcadi, but it seems as if his major work, the Magnificenza, is in sync with its cultural goals which were renewed in the Arcadia Terza. Okay, thank you.